I got the results back from my CT scan on the 30th of October. Not good. It's made me have to think about stuff, seriously, and not just with my heart, but with my head. So that's what we're going to do today. But also I have to tell you, good stuff happened too. So it's not all doom and gloom. Well, it isn't doom and gloom anyway, you know. My mother-in-law used to say, every day that you're looking down at the earth and not up at the earth is a good day. Hi, I'm Denise. Welcome to Travels in My Chair. And I'm going to share bad news and good news with you today, but it's all the way life is, isn't it? Grab a coffee, sit yourself down, and you know me, blah, 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 I go on forever. Warning. This video comes with a warning. Presenter talks way too much. So around the middle of October, I had to go for a CT scan with contrasting dye. That in itself was a pretty interesting event because they couldn't find a vein to put the solution in me. And I had to go to the chemo room where they, you know, they're very used to giving needles there. They had 3 of them. And I had pricks in my left arm and down my wrist and in my right arm and down my wrist. And they looked for my hand. I said, well, guys, I do know that I have veins because I am alive, but they were getting frustrated and I was getting frustrated, and you know, and it hurt as they were probing around. So finally they go and get a vein finding machine. It's kind of like an ultrasound. I've never seen such a thing in my life. Lay it on my arm, probe around, and then the 3 of them discuss which is the most likely place, and in the end they picked right here. I had the CT scan, and when they went to take the needle out, I squirted like a geyser. It freaked us all out. My God, blood down my leg, on the floor. It was like, oh, I now realize that term, bleeding out, how fast it can be. My son-in-law says they must have hit an artery, Denise, that wouldn't have bled like that with just a vein. I went, well, thank God I was at the hospital, I guess. So on the 30th, we were celebrating my granddaughter's 14th birthday, and we decided to have a costume party. Since it was the day before Halloween, and I was dressed up as Thing 1 from Dr. Seuss with a purple wig, but it was fun. And what was really endearing, even though I had just received the call a little while ago, it was endearing that our 2 oldest granddaughters brought their boyfriends, new boyfriends with them. And I felt honored that they wanted to be with their grandparents, you know? So there was like 17 of us or something for dinner. It was quite a zoo act. I was having to force myself to be cheerful because the oncologist had called me just a couple hours before that to tell me that the tumors on my lungs had doubled in size. Now, before you go, oh, they were very small tumors, but that they doubled in 3 months was a concerning part. And also they had found 4 others that were very, very tiny. But of course that means they're going to grow. I went, oh boy, okay. And she says, well, the tumors on your sacrum and on your pelvic area that we zapped with radiation have not changed since 2021. They've shrunk down, they're good. And the tumor and your lymph node that had changed shape and was beginning to want to grow has stopped. So that's the good news. The bad news is your chemotherapy is not working. And to be honest, it only works about 50% of the time anyway. I went, whoa, well, I guess the good news is if you're taking me off it, I won't have any more mouth sores. Or in the last week, I've been getting these major red marks on my hands, and my fingers are numb, and the skin's peeling off my thumb and fingers, and that's all from the chemo drug. She said, yeah, we're going to try another drug kind of similar to your old drug that you were on years ago, letrozole. I went, oh my God, letrozole. You guys, I've talked about it in so many videos. You remember that was the drug I was put on. It was just coming out of trials, and I was put on at the end of December 2006, and I had miracle results. I swear it's one of the reasons I'm alive today. And the drug, you only stay on it for 5 years max, just kind of like tamoxifen, but I was on it 11 years. I remember the day they took me off it, I went, I don't think they should be taking me off it. I don't think so. But, you know, and then 2021, the cancer came back, which, you know, it might have come back anyway. And they put me on letrozole and Ibrance. And I laughed about it. I said, boy, that drug just keeps popping up, doesn't it? Well, guess what? It's popped up again. Only this time, it's a monthly injectable. So basically, it's like letrozole on steroids. The drug is called fulvestrant. Now, I don't know if it's a new drug or an old drug. I can't find out too much information. It also has generic names: AstraZeneca, Zendos, and Teva. And like I say, you get a shot in the butt once a month. The side effects are probably throwing me into a hot flush, like I'm going into menopause again. The bad news is my doctor can't get funding for it. And I tried with my extended health coverage and they won't fund it either. So she's trying to figure out a way. So I guess the drug is probably really expensive, because otherwise she would say, well, you know, if it's $200 a month, pay. No, some of these drugs are like up into the $10,000 a month range. I'm in a holding pattern right now. She wants me to stay on the chemo drug until she gets something going on with this other one, but it only has a 20% success rate anyway. And my girlfriend Leslie said, yay, at 20% you're gonna make it. Think positive. But my oncologist was sort of not her usual perky self on the phone this day. She was kind of hesitant and quiet, which is not like her. And then finally she said, get you on this drug. It'll give you 9 months. No, I'm good. I'm not going to cry. I'm good. So, does that mean I've got 9 months to live, or the drug, while I'm on the drug, I should be okay for 9 months? And that's the maximum they'll leave me on it. You know me, I like to bury my head in the sand sometimes, so I decided not to ask her. I just decided, I went, yeah, okay. But here's the thing, guys. Back in 2006, when I was first diagnosed with breast cancer, I made a bucket list. I was driving home from work one night. It was a horrible, the end of December. It was rainy and foggy. And I got to the sea and I had to pull over because I was just got myself right worked up. Because at that point, I figured I had 2 years to live. They thought they'd found a hole in my sternum. It wasn't looking good. And nobody knew what to do with me. Mastectomy, chemo, no radiation, yes radiation. And I was kind of like this in a circle. And I was frustrated and I was deathly afraid. So I pulled over, started crying, and the ugly sob, you know. And okay, you need to get control of this, girl. You need to make a plan. What do you still want to do in your life? So here's the plan, I said. We need to get out of debt. Like, we have a high mortgage on our house. We need to get that house sold. It's 3 stories. I can't keep up with it anymore. I want to take another trip to England so I can say goodbye to my cousins and my uncle. And I love England. You know, that's where my heart really is. We wanted to take a trip across Canada. Wanted to take the kids to Disneyland while they were young enough, the grandkids, to enjoy it. I wanted to see Celine Dion in Las Vegas. I bought tickets, but Celine got sick that night. So that was very sad. And I want to take a cruise. I'd like to do another canal boat trip when we're in England. Now, as you notice, there's nothing in there about my family, because in my way of thinking, my family was all good. They loved me. I loved them. This was stuff that I wanted Alan and I to do to make our life easier. Because, you know, remember, I've got MS. I'm in a wheelchair. So I'm a lot of work. So this time, when the cancer came back in 2021, I'd accomplished everything on my bucket list, except for the trip across Canada, which isn't going to happen now because it's just too much for us. So the fact is, I could sit on my front porch in my rocking chair and remember all the fun times we had when we traveled all around Europe and we did some crazy things, rather than sitting on the front porch of my rocking chair going, I wish I had done this, I wish I had done that. This was a good thing, that I could actually look at my future, not maybe with stress, but maybe with contentment. However, I did still want to do stuff because I'm that type of person. So there's two ways of thinking about this. First of all, the grandkids were here with their significant others and the little kids. I was getting lots of hugs. Everybody was in costumes. Said to Alan, "What are you going to be for Halloween?" "A grandpa," he goes. Oh, God. So we had hot dogs and we had costumes and donuts and bears and bumblebees and fairies and all kinds of stuff. It was a lot of fun. Even though I had just received that horrible news, it was a lot of fun. And that in itself made me stop, take a pause, and go, you got them all around you. Except for my daughter Heather, who lives in Edmonton, Alberta. We don't see her as much, but still as very much loved. Her and her husband and the grandkids. But here I had 3 of the kids and the grandkids. They wanted to be here and they loved me. I thought about the things I wanted to do with my heart, and then I stopped myself. That night I was laying in bed and I went, you know, Denise, you cannot take a trip to England. You know how you were when you went to the island this summer and you had an attack, which I'll explain. I've had 4 or 5 of them in the past year, and they're scary. I wake up from a dead sleep and I feel like I got a weight on my chest, and I can breathe fine, but I can't take a deep breath. And then my body starts going into a panic, and I break out in a sweat and I feel like I'm going to faint. And then about 10 minutes later or so, it goes away. Now when I'm at home, I can raise the head up on my hospital bed and I feel safe and I feel comfortable because I'm at home. The 2 times it happened that was really scary was one in a hotel in Victoria and the other was when we were in Calgary in September. That's what I was thinking that night I was laying in bed. I thought, you know, don't think with your heart now, think with your head. Because now you've got a husband who's aging, as well as you, that takes care of you and your family and your friends that are aging, that want to be with you, but you have to make sure they're safe. There's not going to be a trip across Canada. You can't do the long flights to England. You wouldn't want to be stuck on a cruise ship with COVID going around again like it is. It's maybe time that you got to pull in the reins a bit and think about how comfortable you are when you're in the motorhome or at home in your own bed, where you're close to medical facilities or you're close to family, because my daughter and her husband are both nurses. I gave that a lot of thought and I realized that that was okay because I'd done all these trips in the past, and now I can maybe just settle down and be comfortable, spending a lot of time at home, but I've got the people around me that love me. You know, the alternative would be all alone. So I'm pretty lucky, aren't I? So then, I'm going to talk about my trees. I know, guys, you're probably so sick of hearing about them, you could just vomit, right? For me, they're more than Christmas trees. For me, they were a way this past year to keep me focused, to keep me occupied. It would be akin to doing a puzzle. I enjoyed them, but I was making too many of them. My kids thought they lived in a forest. Then came the Sunshine Coast Art Crawl in the middle of October, where there's like 250 vendors open up their houses, their studios, and all kinds of artists that are just incredible. And a friend of mine suggested I go to a store called Dave Coyle's Antique Reproductions in Gibson's and see if she would take my stuff and we'd make some kind of an arrangement. And Jackie said, I'll do it. So I had my trees, and also Angela and I made driftwood and sea glass tree ornaments. It was Friday, Saturday, Sunday was the art crawl. So Friday, sold some tree ornaments, people kind of looking around. The weather was horrible, and the weather got worse on Saturday, and it was pretty slow. So I decided to go home for a break. So my friend Chris, my daughter Angela, and me, we'd spare each other off so that we could have a break. I came back. Chris met me outside. She says, I'm sorry, you know, it's been really slow. The weather's so crappy. And I said, yeah, I know. But I was dejected. I got to tell you, I'm beginning to doubt myself, beginning to doubt whether these trees are worth the money I'm asking for them. Went in the store, and there's Jill, who works there, and my daughter Angela, and they're like vibrating. They're almost jumping, and big grins on their face. And they went, and Angela goes, Mom, you're not going to believe it. You're not going to believe it. What? You just sold 5 trees. This young couple came in, and they bought one of your big trees, and we wrapped it all up for them. They just left. And I did cry, because I was validated. It's not the money. I'd give them all away. If I just want them to go to happy homes. When I'm making them, I'm almost touching them, because they just get on a vibration, a feeling of their own. I know, too much information. Here am I in my sea glass trees t-shirt, which we made for the art crawl. I made the girls wear them. No, I said, oh yes, you're wearing my shirts, because who the heck is going to know who you are otherwise? So the end of the weekend came, and we sold more decorations, and Jackie said, okay, you can keep your stuff in till the end of Christmas. Jackie advertised that she's doing an open house, which was on Friday. So midweek, my daughter Angela and I, she'd made more tree ornaments, and I had finished a glorious, I have to admit, 14-inch all-white tree, which I was very, very proud of. And we took them down, and when we got there, Jackie met us at the door and went, oh my God, I'm so glad you came, because I owe you a bunch of money. We sold 5 trees. And she says, one of your big trees for $230 just sold to a very prominent local person. I went, oh, whoa. You gotta love the Sunshine Coast. We have so much talent on the coast, very quietly going along, internationally selling their paintings, and nobody ever knows. They understand craftsmanship and handmade, in opposed to mass-produced, made in China stuff. You've got to respect that. I guess for me then, the trees became the symbol, the wonderful people, the sense of community that we have. And through all my sadness, and knowing that probably my days are numbered, although I feel good, although I get tired really easy, I am content. I got everything in order. Don't feel sorry for me. Life is good. I am a very, very, very lucky person. I have a friend who's sort of in the same boat as me. She's got brain cancer, and we both have this thing, well, it is what it is, and we'll be here as long as we're here, and make the most of what we can while we're here. And that's sort of the way we're going at it, you know. I don't want to just dwell on the negativity, and yet I don't want to be a Pollyanna and just pretend the world isn't just sunny and rosy all day. Thank you so much for joining me today. Remember, if you haven't subscribed before, I'd really love it if you would. Send me comments. If you have questions, that too. I love hearing from you, and every one of you guys are truly amazing. Love you. And I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Bye for now.